So, you are an entrepreneur who has developed a love-hate relationship with social media. You love it because you know the potential it has. It can get you in front of your ideal audience and help you sell your offers. But we sometimes hate it because it's a job in its own. We just want to run our business. We just want to do our thing. And all of a sudden we have this platform that's demanding so much of us. Keep up with this algorithm, create content constantly, post things daily, keep up with trends. It is overwhelming. We know that it's something we need to outsource in our business, but at the same time, as solopreneurs, we struggle with letting somebody else be responsible for our messaging and the content that we're putting out there. This is something that is very important to us and the way we're being of service. So when we can't necessarily let go of that control and delegate these things to someone else, we need to figure out a way to manage it on our own without becoming burnt out creatively or developing anxiety anytime we need to post something or go on there. My relationship with social media is very cyclical. I have weeks where I am on it. The creative energy is flowing. I feel like I can be posting every day. I'm so happy to be engaging with people and I'm loving it. But then I have other weeks where I want nothing to do with social media. I am not inspired. I'm not feeling creative. And I just don't want to be on the platform at all. It sometimes just brings me down and doesn't make me feel good. A lot of the time when we are on social media, we get sucked into those doom scrolls where we're just spending all of a sudden 20, 30, 40 minutes just looking at stuff and falling behind. Those are billable hours. That's time that we could be spending doing anything else, but we just get sucked in. We can't help it. We're aware of it when it's happening, but we still find ourselves just wasting time or falling down some rabbit hole on the internet. And when we're doing that, we're very aware of the fact that it doesn't make us feel good. I'm sure you've stopped yourself many times and said, okay, this is enough. Get me off of here. I don't want to do this anymore. It's normal. We all experience these things. And yet we still recognize the fact that we need to be showing up on social media to promote our business. There's not really an easier way at this moment in time for us to get our messages out there as clearly and effectively as we possibly can. And this is where I have developed some strategies to help you feel better about social media, to help you feel like you are on there with an intention and a purpose, and you're not just going on there being the consumer who's getting pulled into the rabbit holes of the internet. We know we can't avoid using it for our business. There's nothing we can do about that. So let's figure out a way where we can get on that love side of our relationship with social media and we can be happy about the content that we're putting out there and feel more inspired and not feel anxious and overwhelmed with trying to keep up with everything. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite strategies to stay on top of social media, develop that love relationship with it, and just not feel overwhelmed and anxious at the thought of having to post things or log on and interact with people. One of my favorite strategies is don't do it first thing in the morning. Like any day that I start out my day by opening social media while I'm still in bed, I'm instantly just not put in a good place. It makes me start right away feeling like I already haven't accomplished enough in our day. Because let's think about it. When we're on social media, we are seeing all of the action that everyone's putting into place. We're seeing all of the business owners who have successfully launched their programs, and we're seeing the people who are out there checking things off their bucket list. We're seeing everybody's highlight reels and we're seeing everybody in action. So when we open up social media first thing in the morning, we're automatically going to feel like, oh, we're missing out and we're not doing things that we're supposed to be doing. So instead of doing your social media stuff first thing in the morning, Start by creating a list of what you have to do. Maybe you make that list the night before. Start by going through your to-do list and check one thing, the hardest thing off that to-do list right away before you go on social media. That way you're going to automatically feel like you've got a leg up in your day and you're being productive and getting stuff done. It's also so important that we get that sunlight in our eyes before the blue screens each morning. That's Andrew Huberman, one of my favorite neuroscientists. He always talks about the importance of that. And ever since I've adopted that into my own personal day of just starting off by going on my porch or looking out the window and seeing the sun before looking at any screens, it's helped me feel more energized, and it sends signals to your brain to wake up and get started with your day. Another thing that I did recently that every time I've mentioned it to another business owner, they're just like, no, I couldn't possibly do that. I'm too busy. It's too important. I can't do it, is disable your notifications on all of your social media platforms. This is a big one. So yes, this means even your messages. So if somebody messages me on Instagram, guess what? I'm not going to get notified right away. Somebody comments on something, I'm not going to know right away. And that makes us feel anxious. We feel like we need to respond instantly and we need to be on top of everything. But you know what? When we have all of these tiny little notifications pinging us, multiple times in an hour, that's taking us away from the present moment. And it's actually wasting so much time that we could be spending on our business. Think about how many times a day you open up Instagram or Facebook simply because you saw a notification about a like. I know with my brain, the second I see a notification, I have to go in my phone and clear it, because any notifications that I have in the background of my phone, it starts to feel like a to-do list for me. Like I need to clear them so I know I've seen it and I'm up to date on everything. Well, instead of doing that, checking off that one notification each time, what we can do is by logging off of or not logging off, but disabling notifications altogether, we now are not getting pulled into it. And then when we do set aside that time to go check our notifications, we can be way more effective with what we're doing on social media. We can respond to multiple messages at once, and we can set aside the time to do it that's not distracting us from doing the things that we need to do to operate our business. Another one of my favorite strategies for developing a love relationship with social media is scheduling in all of my content. This I started doing more recently than I'd like to admit, because I really did want to have so much control over everything I was doing. But now what I do is I schedule every single post. So I will have my content days where I sit down and I record content or I create content, and then I piece it all up and I develop a strategy based around what kind of experience I want to take my followers on and what kind of messages I want them to receive from me. And I schedule everything out. I do it as far in advance as I can. Typically, my goal is 2 weeks at a time. And then if there's stuff that comes up in between, you can post that live in the moment. That's no problem. But at least now when I wake up each morning, I'm not thinking about what do I have to post on social media today. It's already done. I can go in, I can still communicate in my stories and interact with people, but I've handled that part of having to come up with the creative ideas every day. And if there's days where I don't want to go on it at all, it's fine. It still looks like I'm there. I'm still accomplishing my social media goals, and I don't have to physically be on there doing it myself. So in addition to scheduling all your posts and all your content that you're putting out on social media, it's also so important that you schedule in the time limits that you're using on social media. So say if your goal is to only go on social media for 30 minutes a day, and honestly, that is a realistic goal because you really can accomplish so much on social media as far as interacting with other accounts and boosting your engagement in a 30-minute window. So what you need to do is now schedule in when you're going to be doing that 30 minutes of social media. So maybe it's around the lunch hour, or maybe it's in the evening. I personally don't like to do it too close to bedtime. It gets me way too wired up. So schedule it in and stick to that that window, honor that, put it in your calendar like you would put it in an appointment with somebody, and only go on it during those time frames. If you catch yourself pulling it up and trying to access it at any other point in the day, stop yourself and recognize that you're not in that window. Stay out of it. And be intentional with what you're doing while you're on there. If you find yourself just scrolling and starting to not feel so good about your use there, or you're feeling like you're not making a good use of your time, be more intentional. When I go on social media, I make sure I'm replying to my messages. I make sure I'm interacting with any comments that I have on any of my posts. And then I also make sure that I'm going on and I'm commenting on and engaging with other accounts that I want to be closer to. That is definitely one of the most effective ways to make use of your time. If you're just scrolling through feeds and pictures of stuff that everyone else is posting, if you're not being strategic about it, like maybe saving posts that inspire you to create content that's similar than that, or just saving posts that are giving you good tips and tricks on what you can be doing in your business, then really you're now becoming the consumer, not the product. When we are business owners on social media, it's really important that we make ourselves the product, and social media is working for us and we're not working for it, or we're not just consuming it. We want to stay on the other end of things and be more in control about what we're doing on there. So while we're doing that, it's important that we're also being very intentional about the accounts that we're following. Maybe following all of those friends that you know from high school, people you haven't talked to in how many years. Maybe that's just a bit of a time waster, because if your feed's being filled up with, people out on their family vacations and things like that, if that's not in alignment with your brand, well, it's kind of just wasting some time when you're on social media. I like to follow accounts that are sharing information that is valuable and helpful for me and educating myself and growing my business. And also following accounts of people who I hope to collaborate with in the future that just inspire me and make me feel good. So if you're doing that and being more intentional with the accounts that you're following, it's going to help you get a better use of your time when you're on there. And finally, my favorite strategy to just help you not feel overwhelmed and anxious by operating social media as an entrepreneur or solopreneur is to just not try to keep up with the trends. I know that sounds counterintuitive when you're wanting to scale and grow and get in front of new people, but I think the most effective thing that we can do as business owners is just do what feels good to us and be completely authentic with the ways that we're showing up. If, the latest dance trend is not your vibe and you're not into it, don't even bother. Don't even go there. Don't even try. No matter how much, exterior programming has you thinking you need to keep up with trends to be successful, it's not true. Just be you, just do you, and it's going to help you have a better relationship with social media and show up more authentically. When we're being authentic with the messages we're sharing and what we're promoting, we are going to actually attract more people than when we're being fake and just trying to keep up with it all. I hope that these strategies helped you like they helped me. I know that as solopreneurs and business owners, it gets so overwhelming sometimes, and we really feel like we're just treading water at best in certain moments. But when I brought that self-awareness to my social media game, it changed everything for me. And I really hope it can do the same for you. And I hope that you can find ways that help you show up authentically and attract those people who need your services. I'd love to know your thoughts on this podcast. If you liked it, please give it a like wherever you're watching. And also you can reach out to me on social media at The Empoweredpreneur. Tell me what you think. Tell me your tips and tricks on what you're doing with social media. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Thank you for being here. I believe in you. This is just the beginning for us. And I'll talk to you again soon.